This automatic titanium dive watch is not only dirt cheap, but it also features the iconic 3, 6 and 9 that you'd find on a Rolex Explorer. However, there are a couple of problems that might be deal breakers for some. Hello there, my name is Kieran, welcome to Top Tier Ticket, I hope you're having a good day. We're back again for another budget banger, this time with some heavy Rolex influence. I bet it's the first time you've ever heard that one. But in all seriousness, today's watch politely tips a cap to the Rolex Explorer, whilst delivering a full titanium build for less than $200. Even though it's only the start of 2025, this watch already has the potential to be one of the best value watches of the year. There are, however, a few problems to consider before buying this watch, one of which I do think will be a big issue for some, but I know a large portion of you will be extremely happy with what's on offer here. This watch is from Boderry. I emailed them asking to send this watch over for review, and they did say that I can keep it after the video, although I can promise you I won't be holding back in the negative section. The two previous Boderry watches I've reviewed have been good, but not outstanding. The Landmaster and the Voyager were very impressive in terms of the spec sheets on offer, but they majorly lacked refinement and any real detail, an area in which today's watch looks promising to improve upon. And this watch is in line with what Boderry usually charges for their catalogue. Today's watch will cost you just $160 if you like it, which is really good for the spec sheet on offer if you can get over the issues. Today's video is going to run slightly different to usual. I'm going to tell you the problems that I've had with the watch first, and then I'll tell you what I actually like about it. We're on the road to 100,000 subscribers this year. I'd love to have you join the community. Hit that subscribe button. Okay, so one of the most unique unboxing experiences you'll ever have is with a Boderry watch. These things come inside of a mini plastic shipping container, and they just put a smile on your face every time you see it. Albeit the contents inside the box is nothing special, but this is a very hard box, so your watch will definitely be safe in transit. So, the problems. The main issue I've had with both the previous two Boderry models I've reviewed came in the form of the bracelets. Both of them were quite honestly shite. They were both a huge pain in the arse to size, and the bracelet on the Voyager was simply too big and clunky and didn't complement the design of the watch at all. And I even went as far as recommending you completely avoid the bracelet with the Landmaster. I'm happy to report that the bracelet on this Admiral model is much easier to size. The pins actually come out of the links. However, the problems are now unfortunately elsewhere. Although this clasp is very sleek and features a milled construction, it doesn't have any micro adjustment. So finding a perfect fit will definitely be more difficult. There is also no taper to the bracelet. It's 20mm up at the lugs and 20mm all the way down to the clasp. And then these end links, well, they stick out more than my bright white chest on a Spanish beach. And trust me, that's a lot. They extend the effective lug to lug to 54mm, which is just simply too long for a lot of wrist sizes. So although this watch features a bracelet that's definitely a huge improvement over the previous models, I still don't recommend that you buy the bracelet. They need to add a small taper, include some micro adjustment, and switch to negative end links. And then finally, we might actually have a decent bracelet on a Boderry watch. But then that sparks another problem. You see, you can't just buy this specific version of the watch without the bracelet. Now, there is a version of this watch with a red dial that comes with an FKM rubber strap, but for some unknown reason, they've switched the bezel to a completely different one. The one on the bracelet features this relief style bezel, almost like what you'd see on a Rolex Yachtmaster, which I think really suits this watch. The rubber strap version though features a boring old Submariner style bezel that for me just looks way more boring in comparison. So if you want this specific version, you'll have to order the bracelet variant and then swap out the strap yourself, which is just a little bit counterintuitive. Now obviously when a spec sheet is this good on a watch, which we will cover a little bit later in the video, corners do have to be cut somewhere to make some money. And on this watch, unfortunately, it's the lume. Don't believe the shots that Boderry provides on their sales page. The lume here is not great. You get a decent showing at first, but it lasts about as long as my New Year's resolution. There also seems to be much more lume on the indexes over the handset, which is just always super confusing. The lume here is serviceable in a crunch, but it's far from exceptional. I'd honestly give it about a 3 out of 10. That being said, there are 5 areas of this watch that are impressive and somewhat negate the problems. Number 1, size. Although this watch is way too big and clunky on the bracelet, it's an entirely different story with a strap. The lug to lug is no longer 54mm and is now just 49mm. This makes a huge difference to how the watch both looks and feels on wrist. This watch is also just 12.7mm thick, which for a 200m diver that features an automatic movement is rather impressive. Case diameter here is just under 41mm, so there's plenty of wrist presence, and the lug width is 20mm, meaning that you have almost endless strap options. I consider all 4 of these dimensions to be in the Goldilocks zone, and those numbers do translate to a very comfortable wearing experience once the watch is on a strap. Number 2, the titanium. The previous Boderry I reviewed, the Landmaster, seemed to feature some sort of coating over the titanium to give it its finish. That meant that the watch scratched unbelievably easy and quite honestly had a weird colour going on with it. But you can tell that this model doesn't feature this coating. You can actually see the brushed finish on the case sides, the lugs, the bracelet, which makes the watch look a lot more premium. Combine that with the relief bezel that features plenty of depth and some polished surfaces, and this Admiral offers way more refinement and detail that the previous watches lacked. Number 3, a very pretty dial. That refinement and detail doesn't just stop with the case. I think this particular Boderry dial is their best design yet. Yes, it heavily borrows from Tudor and Rolex, but it combines everything in a way that feels somewhat original. The applied indexes really do add something interesting to this watch, especially combined with this great looking polished handset. There's plenty of interesting angles and facets going on here, which makes the dial look extremely attractive. I'm a big fan of red dial watches, hence why I went for this coral red version, and they've done a good job with the colour here. The sunburst finish is strong, but it's not overpowering, and the colour is extremely dynamic. The only thing I would criticise with the dial design is actually the logo. I feel that the Boderry print is just slightly too high on the dial. It just feels a bit out of place where it is. I know that's only a picky one, but it's something that I keep noticing every time I look down at the watch. Number 4, choices. Although I am disappointed that you can't get this specific red dial version on a strap, I have to give credit to Boderry for the amount of choice you get with this model. It comes in a few different variants, including a GMT, one without the 3, 6 and 9, a bit more like a Tudor, and even a bronze version that looks incredibly pretty. Also a massive selection when it comes to colours, Pepsi, turquoise, green, and some black and white options for those of you who lack personality. I'm joking, of course, my main diver is a black dial Seamaster, but all options come in around the same price, all of them less than $200, even including the GMT. And all of them offer a very impressive spec sheet. And number 5, fantastic value. Yes, this watch has seen huge improvements in the details, but the great spec sheet remains. Boderry thankfully have used the automatic Seiko NH38 inside of here, so no ghost date position. Covering the dial is a flat sapphire with some anti-reflective treatment, keeping the watch nice and slim. And this watch offers a dive-capable 200-meter rating with a screw-down crown and case back. So when you also factor in the full titanium build, the $160 price tag is simply extremely impressive. So considering the problems and the positives, what's my overall verdict? It's massively improved on elements of previous Boderry options, especially with how the watch actually looks. And I think this watch does have an exceptionally good looking dial design. There's some great choices when it comes to colour and bezel options, but just remember that the bracelet does make this watch look big and clunky. Obviously not a problem for larger wrists, but definitely an issue for smaller ones. On a rubber strap like this watch looks great. And for the money, you really can't ask for much more with the spec sheet here. If you're in the market for a titanium diver with a classic design, this is simply a great option. I'll leave an AliExpress affiliate link below to buy the watch. Go and check out some of the other versions. If you haven't already, like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one, guys. Bye for now.